Okay, I want to be respectful of everybody's time. So it's 10 o'clock. I'm going to go ahead and get started. So good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for taking the time to join me today to learn about the Harris-Galveston Subsidence District's Water Conservation Grant Program. My name is Denise Small, and I am the Water Conservation Program Coordinator. Just a little bit about myself. I was a high school teacher for 5 years. So if I sound like a teacher or this feels like a very classroom-ish presentation, that is why. I've been with the district for a little over a year now, and I'm so excited to be here and share more about this program with you all today. I would also like to shout out Ms. Ashley Gruder, our Director of Research and Water Conservation, who is also on this call with me, and she will be supporting me with the Q&A feature. So I do want to let you guys know we did disable the chat feature just to minimize so many moving pieces, and we just did disable the cameras and mics for everybody, so there's not too much going on. So before we get started, I would love to hear from all of you. What are you hoping to learn about the Water Conservation Grant Program? You can drop that into our Q&A, which Ashley will drop that question in, and you can respond to that. I'm hoping to kind of see what are some questions you guys are coming in with that I may be able to address throughout the slides, or if I don't, I can address them towards the end. So I'll give you guys a few seconds to enter in your response. I'm going to go ahead and get started with everything else. So I will be introducing the district, who we are, and how we got started. So the Harris-Galveston Subsidence District was created in 1975 by the Texas legislature to prevent further subsidence through groundwater regulation, science and research, and water conservation. And part of that water conservation efforts is the grant program that we'll discuss today. So for those of you unfamiliar with subsidence, it is the lowering of the elevation of land surface over time. So when that happens, we experience reduced well capacity, damages to infrastructure, increased flooding, and loss of land. And in order to prevent further subsidence, specifically in our area, we must reduce our reliance on groundwater, which is why the district regulates groundwater and establish an award-winning water conservation program to protect this precious resource that we have here in Houston, creating a more sustainable water future. So here are some of our water conservation programs and resources that we offer. Some of you may be familiar with our school program that was formerly known as the WaterWise program, which we give out kits, water conservation kits to schools. And it is a free resource for 3rd through 6th grade classes, and we provide curriculum with those kits so teachers can implement that in their classroom. And this is sponsored by local water providers and businesses in the Harris-Galveston and Fort Bend County. We also have Smarter About Water. It's our water conservation website that houses water conservation resources and tips for homeowners, educators, and businesses. I'm also proud to share that the district has been awarded the 2024 EPA WaterSense Sustained Excellence Award for our water conservation programs. The district also partners with Texas A&M AgriLife Extension with their Water My Yard program that offers watering recommendations for irrigation using data from weather stations that include evapotranspiration as well. And of course, the program you all are here for, which is our Water Conservation Grant Program. And if you guys have any questions about this towards the end, or have any other interest about our programs, feel free, we can talk about it towards the Q&A portion. So, our grant program. Our grant program was started in 2019 to support water conservation projects in the Harris and Galveston counties. Since starting the program, we have successfully funded a total of 10 projects, equaling to almost $860,000 of reimbursements. And I'm excited to share with you all today about this program, what's the eligibility requirements, how to apply, and if awarded, what is expected. So a little bit about how the district awards the grants. We do it through reimbursements and will award up to 50% of the total project cost. The percentage of reimbursement is dependent on a few factors, such as the estimated cost of materials, the type of project, and available funding. So the size and the number of projects to be funded will be determined based on the available funding that we have. And the funding support for the requests for applications may be authorized by the Board of Directors within the budget assigned for our fiscal year, which follows the calendar January through December. So before I go over the types of projects, I want to kind of touch base on the eligibility. So if you have a project that supports water efficiency, conservation measures, or research, those are the three categories that we typically cover. And I'll go more into detail in the next slide on what each of those categories are and some examples of those projects that we've previously funded. One of the most common questions that we receive is if someone can apply after their project has been completed. And unfortunately, the answer is no. We ask that the district is a part of the project installation so that we have the opportunity to see the project, and it allows us to ensure that the funds provided by the grant is being utilized for the project. The project must also reside in Harris or Galveston County. In the case that maybe parts of the project is occurring outside of Harris or Galveston County. For example, if the project covers an area which is 40% in Fort Bend, 60% in Harris County, we'll only fund the portion that's in the Harris County side. And then who can apply? So water utilities, so if you're a city that provides water or MUDs, special utility districts, utilities like that, private entities, but if you're a private entity, you must be the funds for the project, must be used for public purpose, like contributing to reduction of groundwater use. Nonprofit organization, 501c, school districts, public entities, and universities, which this is a little bit different. So this is typically with our research projects, universities within Texas, but that university project has to be supporting a project within Harris or Galveston County. And I'll go over an example of one we had in the past. So I want to dive a little bit deeper into each of those categories that I introduced to you guys at the beginning of the previous slide. And I do want to mention that if you missed any of this information, it's all on our grant website, which we'll share later on in the next couple slides. But our first category we have here is the conservation measures. So these projects focus on reducing water use or loss, such as leak detection and repair. We've also had a project where they've passed out EPA water sense shower heads. So the City of Leak City and Harris County Freshwater Supply District 1A conducted a leak detection project. And after repairs, Leak City had about a 9.1% reduction in real water loss savings, about more than 92,000 gallons per day, and $66,900 per year. For the Freshwater Supply District, they were able to save about 3.5 million gallons after they made those repairs. For the project that distributed shower heads, which was Harris County Mud 50, they shared about 300 EPA water sense shower heads with their residents, had an estimated water savings of about 975,000 gallons. So then let's move on to water efficiency. Those projects target an increased potential for reduced water use through effective water-saving technologies and or equipment, such as smart irrigation system replacement or advanced metering infrastructure, as we know as AMI. We had 2 school districts who implemented smart irrigation, which is Clear Creek ISD and Klein ISD. So CCISD was able to reduce water usage each year about 2 million gallons and saved over $18,000. Klein ISD was able to save about 7 million gallons with savings ranging from 25,000 to 45,000. So like from the next year, they saw an increase of savings. We had 3 cities that have installed AMIs. It's the city of Friendswood, Galveston, and Webster. There hasn't been enough data because they just finished their project last year. So we haven't really seen the savings quite just yet, but each city has implemented a customer portal where they are able to turn on certain notifications if their water usage goes past a certain amount, even potential leak notifications. The city themselves also get some of those notifications that they can turn on certain features where if a certain house goes past a certain amount, their staff can then reach out to those residents and let them know, hey, I'm not sure if you realize there might be a leak on your property. So those are potential savings there. Then we have our research projects. So any projects that support evaluating water saving technology, water use, or other innovative approaches to enhance water conservation. So like I mentioned before, any universities within Texas that supports projects within Harris and Galveston County. So in the past, we've had Meadows Center for Water and the Environment at Texas State University, as well as University of Houston, doing research, providing recommendations to the city of Houston on their most efficient methods of water savings for a drought contingency plan. And what they found was that toilets and shower heads were determined as the highest water demand end uses and would yield the greatest cost benefit ratio when switching to high efficiency toilets and low flow shower heads. Again, all of these projects are also on our website, so if you'd like to check those out, feel free to see our grant page. So I know that was a lot, so I'm going to break it up with another question. It's very teacher of me. What type of organization do you represent? Are you with a water utility, a private entity, or public? Are you with a nonprofit, school district, or a university? So I would love for you to share that in our Q&A portion of the webinar. So I'll give you guys a few seconds, kind of digest everything I just said before moving on. See some MUD, some nonprofits. Thank you, Monica, for sharing. Okay. Now I'm going to move on to the application process. So we have a timeline here. The first couple slides, I'm going to go over how to submit the application itself. And then I'm going to go over some criteria on our internal review, how we kind of rank things, and then go on to the next part of the process. So typically, once you submit the application, it undergoes internal review. Upon meeting requirements, the application will then go on to the Water Conservation Committee that's made up of our board members for their approval. Then once they approve, the committee approves it. We ask that the applicant then starts to draft up and partially execute either a contract or interlocal agreement. Typically, if you're a city or MUD, we ask that we go enter into an interlocal agreement. Once that's drafted up and partially executed, we will then move it to board for approval. And then once they approve, that will be then, excuse me, you will then receive a notification for notice to proceed. And this process may take a few months depending on when the application is submitted. So we do recommend submitting the application at least 6 months from the anticipated start date. I'll go a little bit more detail on that later on as well. So I'm going to walk you through a little bit of our website. So this little animation takes you to where our grant program page is. So you visit our website, you can locate and download the RFA and application towards the middle of the page. I'm actually going to pull up one of the application after this slide, just so we can kind of go through it, because it is a lot. So once you complete the application, gather all the information, you'll email that to contracts@subsidence.org. Just be sure to put the subject line Water Conservation Grant Program RFA. So 1, 2, 3, 4, pretty easy. In the next slide, I'm going to really dive into and highlight what we're looking for. Okay. Before I pull up the application, I just kind of want to overview this. So when we're looking at the application together, you'll kind of know what we're talking about. So the application should not exceed 10 pages. And you'll see in the application itself, the first 4 pages are something like you can't leave out. It's part of the application, it's part of the form. And then the following pages is when you'll add in your portion. Additional information may be requested after the submission. And the application RFA includes all of the requested information that you see on this slide right here. But some things I just want to point out is, how does the project contribute to water conservation, the scope of work and the timeline, budget information, location of projects. We love seeing maps and really be able to visualize where your project is going to take place. Information of your equipment or products that you're anticipating to be used, especially if it's a water efficiency or a conservation measure project. And then we do ask for your water use report for the last 5 years, which means 5 years prior to the project starting, so that we can then compare it afterwards. And then, of course, once it's completed, emailing that. So at this time, I'm going to pull up the website and the application itself and kind of walk you guys through that. So just like you saw in the animation, this is where our RFA and our application is located. I'm going to click on the water efficiency project application. So as you can see, it's 30 pages. It's quite long, but I'm going to break down what's in this. And so you can download this or print it, fill it out, and then scan it and send it back in, or fill it in digitally and submit that with the signatures. So as I mentioned before, it can exceed 10 pages, but you'll notice the first 4 pages, 1, 2, 3, 4, is a form that you actually have to fill out. What you can include is on page 3. So the next 6 pages, let's say you do want to go up to 10 pages, it outlines what we're looking for. So a brief description of the project, a summary, the estimated proposed water conservation for how much water you'll save per year from this project, and then providing a list of tasks that will be completed as part of the project. So that's what we're looking for after these 4 pages have been filled out. Beneath this is a draft of the contract and the interlocal agreement. So typically contracts are for businesses or public entities, depending on how your grantee works. So this first part is the contract itself. It's very long, so any highlighted part is what you'll fill in. So I'm gonna keep scrolling. And then below this is the interlocal agreement. Again, highlighted portion will be filled in for that. And then attachment C will be part of either, if you're doing the contract or the interlocal agreement, this will also be included in there as well. So that's why this application is so long, because we have that contract or that interlocal agreement in there for you guys. We're hoping that this application is really easy and accessible for everybody. So we'd love to work with you. If you have any questions once we get to it and you're like, I don't know what to do, feel free to reach out to me and I'll help you through this process, because I know it can be a lot. But we're trying to make it very streamlined and easy for everyone to be able to fill out. So once you submit your application and it's ready for internal review, this is the criteria that we rank the application. And so I'll give some examples for each of those categories or criteria. So emphasis on water conservation. How does it contribute to continued water savings? And what are some methods the entity will implement to support water conservation, such as, are you guys going to have a customer portal where they can actually see their water use data? If it's an AMI project, what are some programming or educational resources that you'll provide for residents to teach them about water conservation and why it's important, and how they can save water at home? Or like certain notifications, again, going back to AMI, if there's a leak notification, things like that, or if you have a smart controller system, what are you planning to have in place to ensure that water is being saved? Thoroughness, of course, evidence that the project is planned out with clear scope of work and schedule, including outline of project cost or budget. We may ask for a bid submission or itemized list of a budget after the application has been submitted. So if we need a little additional information for that, we may ask for that. Completeness, so of course, ensuring that all the requirements are met. You're not going past the 10. You're hitting everything that we've requested and asked for. And then the EPA WaterSense portion. So we're a partner with the EPA WaterSense, and this doesn't play a huge role or impact on the approval of the grant, but it is preferred, and we would love to see if you're having a certain equipment that you're using that it is WaterSense labeled. If you need a website, we do have a website for that we can share with you guys, and it has all of those equipment and products that they have that's EPA WaterSense labeled. Creativity. So there are aspects of the project that we haven't seen or come across. So for example, there was a grantee that had a citizen sustainability committee that had actually recommended for them to do a smart irrigation replacement project to reduce water use, in addition to prioritizing other sustainable actions such as reducing greenhouse gases, waste, and energy. So we haven't seen this before, and I thought that was really different and really cool. So that's kind of how that creativity portion is there. Now, of course, sometimes it doesn't work out that way, and that's perfectly okay. That's why the point system, it's very small, has a very small impact. So again, going back to the timeline of how everything kind of flows, you submit your application, it goes through internal review. After internal review, it will be taken to the committee for approval. And this is the part of the process that may take the longest, since the committee will typically meet quarterly. So that is why we ask that you try to submit your application at least 6 months before the anticipated start date of the project. So that once it's approved, y'all can go ahead and get started and get that reimbursement. So once you're approved by the district's board of directors, we will then invite the grantees to our district's office here in Friendswood for a kickoff meeting, where we'll review over the project requirements, and we'll also have a photo opportunity. So in the previous slides, you might have seen them holding a really big check. So you'll receive a check and be able to have that photo opportunity. There will also be quarterly meetings with the Harris-Galveston Subsidence District staff, and that's going to be via Teams. That's going to be virtual, just to review over the project, discuss any questions that you guys might have, or what questions we may have for you. We'll also ask for submission of quarterly summary reports and reimbursement worksheets with invoices. So the summary report is just a brief write-up. It's not super long, maybe a paragraph or two, kind of telling us what's being installed or what's been completed or purchased, so that we can justify that reimbursement. We'll also ask for a project site visit, so that we can kind of see if you're installing something. Like in this picture, they're installing their smart irrigation system, or be able to just see what you guys are working on, and kind of take pictures as well. At the conclusion of the project and to receive the final repayment, you'll have to submit a final report, which we will provide an outline of what's needed on that report. Now, we do have final reports from the past grantees posted on our website for you to look at. I do want to preface some are a little more detailed and some aren't. We're pushing more for a little bit more detailed for our future projects, just so that others can see the benefits of projects like these and how it really contributes to water conservation. And then lastly, we'll also ask for the following 5 years after the project, your water use report. So just as in the beginning, when I mentioned during the application, we'll ask for 5 years prior to the project, and then now we'll ask 5 years after the project, so we can kind of compare and see again the benefits of projects like these and how much water is actually being saved. Well, that is all I have for you guys. The last portion of this webinar will be a Q&A. So if you have any other questions, if I haven't addressed your questions from the beginning, please do so right now. Type your questions in the Q&A feature, and I would love to answer those questions for you. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to also leave my contact information up here for you guys. Again, my name is Denise Ma. I'm the Water Conservation Program Coordinator. Thank you so much for your time. I'm gonna now see if you have any questions and get to addressing those. So there was a question, if you guys haven't seen, project cannot be complete, but can you apply for a project already underway? Again, no, we ask that we are a part of the project. And thank you, Ashley, for answering those questions as they were coming in as well. Can a private entity and university research wing apply for water conservation research grant? Again, yes, as long as the project is within the Harris-Galveston County. So thank you again for that, Ashley. How many applicants do you get per year? It really ranges. We've had a year where we had 4. We've had a year where we had none, no applications. We've had this previous year we had 2 applications, so it just ranges. So in the past, our application we had a deadline for it, but now it's an open application. It's open all year round, so you can submit it whenever. A great question.
I will ask one question to Denise. Thank you for this great overview. To kind of piggyback on the application per year, could you go over how long it might take for someone after they submit their application to be awarded their grant?
Yes. So it depends on when we are going to be meeting with committees. So I'm going to go back to the slide, the timeline right here. So once you submit the application, what we are really holding off on or waiting on is our committee to meet, and that's usually quarterly. So let's say you submit it in October. We might not meet with them until the November time, December time. So that's a couple months. So we ask that you submit 6 months out prior, so we can have that time to bring it to our committee for approval. Now, we do have a board meeting every month. So once that committee, let's say the committee approves in November, we're able to bring it to the December meeting. And once that board approves, you'll be able to proceed with your project. So hopefully I was able to answer your question, Ashley. If you want to add to that, feel free.
No, that was perfect. Thank you. And you have one more from Kelly. Yes. In the Q&A.
Can the application include a couple of candidate sites that would have the same scope? Or is the application very site specific? Ashley, I might need help with this one.
Oh, sure. Yes, they can have as many candidate sites. The only requirement is that they are within Harris or Galveston County. So.
Do water reuse programs fit in this? Yes. Water reuse would go under water efficiency. Correct, Ashley?
Yes, that is correct. There's a way to recycle that water. Absolutely.
Mhm. And we actually haven't had a water use project quite yet. Um, we did have someone submit that was already completed, so we'd love to see some projects on water reuse. Again, this if you came in late, that's completely fine. We'll have the recording for this on our website at the HGSD website, which I can. It was placed in the link early or in the chat earlier, but I will go ahead and put that in again, just in case you missed it. Thank you. So posting the link of our grant page one more time. Again, the webinar will be up soon. So give us a few days to get that up. If you came in late, no worries. Everything that I went through is on our website and available there as well. But thank you so much for y'all's time. Hopefully I was able to share some good stuff with y'all. Other than that, have a wonderful day. I'm going to go ahead and close out this meeting.